Alex Hormozi just revealed that he gets the highest ROI in his marketing from email.
And he just shared everything with us.
His email principles, his strategy, and his execution. And then also, we'll get into some more tactical stuff like when is the best day to send your emails, what are the best times, and how you should structure your call to actions. And even as somebody who's generated $50 million in e-commerce sales just through email marketing, even I learned a lot from his insights. And I even uncovered some secrets behind his strategy. Now, a lot of the email marketing advice out there is just complete bullshit. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down Alex Hormozi's no bullshit processes and systems for utilizing email marketing that just works. So unless you hate generating revenue for cheap, this video is not going to be a miss. Let's get right into the clips.
First things first, here's why I think you should do email. I was a moron and decided to not email for the vast majority of my life because I hate money, apparently. And so the average ROI for email, depending on the source you look at, is between 35 and 45 return. So that means that for every dollar you spend on software or putting time into your email, you can get like $45 back. Like imagine if there was a stock investment that you could 50x in a week. Well, that's kind of like what email is, and people still don't do it, myself included. And part of the reason that making money on email is more profitable is because you actually have already spent the time to acquire this contact. And so in a lot of ways, email is just follow-up. And so you spent the cost to acquire the lead, now you're just reminding them that you exist. And so basically the only real cost is just whatever software you use and whoever or whomever you may have to pay in order to write the emails. That's pretty much it. And so one email writer can send an email to 10 million people, and that is a tremendous amount of leverage that you get in your business that a lot of people ignore. On top of that, email is one of the most consumed media platforms, and it hasn't died down. So 61% of people check their email multiple times per day. 20% of people check it multiple times per hour. It has almost the same consumption rate as social media in terms of how engaged some of the users are of people reading their emails every single day. And what's cool about email is that it's actually uniform across age groups. And so you can see between 15 and 24, 25 and 44, 45 and 64, and 65 plus, pretty much everyone, 90% plus, or 84 at the very end bracket there, read email all the time. If you're gonna master something, it's one that transcends age groups.
Okay, so what did Alex Hormozi just tell us? The first thing that stands out is email has at least a 35x ROI. Now that is absolutely crazy because I've talked to e-commerce brands and I work with e-commerce brands, over 50, and they are ecstatic to have a ROAS, return on ad spend, on Meta for like 1.8x. In email, you're able to get 35x. It is simply unmatched in terms of being profitable. Now, one of the reasons why it's so profitable, as he explains, is that you've already acquired this person and you're just reminding them of you. You already spent all the resources on ads to be able to get this person on your email list. So there's really like barely any extra cost to remind these people. And it's way more effective because on ads, a lot of the times you're marketing towards cold. With email marketing, these people already know you. So you have a relationship with them, so they convert at a much higher rate. One of the craziest misconceptions that I hear is people being like, oh, do people even use email? And so then they don't really use email marketing that much. But as Alex Hormozi pointed out, 61% of people in the US check their email multiple times per day. So when you click send on your email, you're almost guaranteed that people are gonna see your email. It's just marketing to people who already know, like, and trust you for cheap.
I like to think about email kind of like a long-term investment account. And so it's like you run ads every single day, or you do outbound or whatever it is to build your list up. And that's kind of like your paycheck, right? Like you put work in and you get paid back, right? And it's just like a direct relationship. Whereas the email is kind of like your 401k. It's kind of like your investment account that you put money into, and then over time it starts to compound and compound and compound. And if you have an email strategy, and I'm going to give you kind of the overarching email strategy that we like to employ in businesses. This business just is crushed doing what we've been doing, so it hasn't been the main focus. But if you have a business, like, it is one of the easiest ways to just immediately plug in and print money. And the nice thing is that even if it's late to the game, I mean, this business does a lot of money. You can still employ it and then immediately see the results.
That's an interesting way to put email. It's kind of like your long-term investment. Whereas you can get the quick cash, you get your paycheck, but you're kind of just like putting pennies inside of your email account just slowly over time. And down the line, you're able to get a huge ROI from it. Because as you get more ad traffic, if you have a high converting pop-up form, you're going to continue to grow your email list. Till eventually, years down the line, you can have hundreds of thousands or millions of people on your email list. We all know how important it is to consistently put money into your 401k. 401k. Same should be done with email. Don't neglect it. Start growing your email list now.
And so as I think about email, the objective of the email has one of two purposes. One is to increase the likelihood that this person purchases in the future or that they purchase. That's fundamentally it. And so it basically has the exact same objectives as content. And so it's just a different form of content consumption, except where you can guarantee that you get delivery. Whereas when you make a post, the algorithm decides who gets to see it. When you send an email, basically your past performance determines whether or not they get to see it. And there's a couple of little tricks to make sure you get in the right email inbox and not get in the promo tabs. We'll go over some of that stuff. But big picture, you actually have the list and you send it directly to them.
I love it. Email is literally just another content platform, but you own it and you get to control who sees it. With ad platforms and with like organic social media, you're relying on the algorithm. The algorithm owns your data. They get to choose who gets to see your content. Nobody else owns your email list but you. When you send an email to your customers, you know that they're going to receive it. So you just want to think about it as another social media platform. It's just another way to show content. And it just so happens to be used just as much as social media platforms, but pretty much guaranteed for everybody to see your email. There is a nuance there with the spam folder and having good deliverability, but that's a topic for another video.
And if you're embarrassed, by the way, that you haven't sent email, then worry not, because I am too, and I will show you the first email I sent to my list just not that many months ago. That's obviously within acquisition.com. The portfolio companies send emails all the time, but I hadn't sent anything to Hormozi Nation. And so this was it. So I started with subject, is this on? And I just said that because I thought it was funny. I started with a quote that I like a lot, which is, it only takes 20 hours of focused effort to get proficient in any skill. The problem is most people waste years before they start the first hour. So I've been making content for 4 or 5 years now, and I had yet to send an email. And so that quote of mine felt rather appropriate for myself. The thing is that I think you can model something like this, like if it has been a minute for you, like you're like, I should have been emailing. It's okay, you can start whenever you want, and the day you start is the day you start getting 45 plus returns on the time and money you put into it.
Start sending email now. Moral of this story.
There's two things about email and having follow-up beyond initial follow-up that makes a business more valuable. Number one is that all sales that will come from email are going to drop straight to the bottom line in terms of profit. And so most businesses, 95% of businesses, are traded on a multiple of bottom line. And so since these sales drop straight to the bottom line, it will be a big enhancer on the enterprise value.
I love that. Pretty much all sales from email are going to go directly to your bottom line, because remember, email is very, very cheap. And these are customers that you already paid to acquire. So you're pretty much playing on house money with email. More profit. And then if you want to sell your business as well at a certain point, you're judged on profit. And so email is going to be one of the main things that these buyers look at. Execute email correctly, you can get more profit, you can sell your business for more.
The second point is that if you have consistent email sales that come in, that number isn't going to really change. Like tomorrow, you don't go from 3.3 million to 1.5 million emails on your list unless you clean the list or whatever. But fundamentally, the list size isn't going to change overnight. Your ads might change overnight, but your email list won't. So what that does is it actually can smooth out volatility that occurs in a business, which would make it more attractive to an investor.
Now, this is something that I don't see be brought up about email very often, but what I see is that brands who have a really strong email foundation, their business doesn't go up and down as much. With brands that are solely focusing on ads, you're really relying on the algorithm and you're relying on the performance of your ads on a given month. Email just adds a nice, steady baseline of revenue so that no matter how your ads perform, you have sales that you know you're going to get from email, and it's going to be profit. This goes beyond just like revenue consistency. This helps with like all of your finance, helps with your forecasting so you can know how much stock you need, and so much more. The key story here is that nobody can take away your email, and it's just consistent revenue that you can bring in, because these are people who already know, like, and trust you, and they will buy if you send them emails.
I didn't want to add something else to my plate because I was always so spread thin, but now that I understand how much the return for email per unit of effort, it's totally worth it. And I'll give you a side note, like we didn't do any email follow-up on school for a different reason. We had some technical stuff because we wanted to do it through the platform. And then as soon as we started doing email follow-up, we got a 40% lift in conversion. So it's like, dear God, like what else is going to get you that kind of lift? And again, it's free. Strongly recommend doing it. Start with once a month. Get them all, just block them all out and be like, okay, I've got that done. And then every time you feel like motivated to do one, you can just add on top and it's just gravy, it's bonus.
Okay, now we kind of know that email is super important and what the benefits are. Now let's actually get to some of the strategy and the tactical stuff that Alex Hormozi shares so that we can make the most out of our email channel.
And so that means we were making roughly $6 per email in this campaign. And so if you know that you do this, call it 4 times a year, which I would recommend you do when we get into the takeaway section, meaning 1 time per quarter, you do a cleanup where you say, great, we're going to take all the leads that we had and we're going to run them through a conversion mechanism. In this way, it's not like, oh shoot, I have to do this all the time. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this big thing. We do it once a quarter and we clean up our Q1, we clean up our Q2, we clean up our Q3 by running all of our leads through this high converting funnel that we've structured purposely for non-buyers. So we have different hooks, different front ends that has different messaging that might not have been the primary message that converts the most people, which is our first, whack at it, but this is our second and third whack at it. And by varying the titles that you use in each of the quarterly things that you do. So Q1 will have a different name than Q2. You'll still be able to attract people without necessarily fatiguing or tiring the list. And in between those times, you can then simply provide value to the list. And so you've deposited some goodwill that earns you the right to be able to ask for the sale.
Okay, it was kind of a lot there. He's talking in a B2B context, but this can apply in e-commerce, and this is like what I recommend and what I see. So what he said there was that we have 4 main events through the big year where we kind of want to liquidate on all of our customers that we have and have like an aggressive sale event. Now notice how he didn't say that once a month. No, we're going to bore out our list. We're going to burn them. We're going to ruin our brand reputation if we're just sending big sale, big sale, big sale. So we have those big sale events that we're running, and in between those times, that's when we give value to the list. Give value, deposit trust. It's like a piggy bank. You put in pennies, those pennies are value, and then eventually you can crack open the piggy bank down the line when you do your big sale event once a quarter. Now, what is value? It's going to depend brand to brand, but it can be anything in your niche, like tips on how to achieve XYZ result. Even if it doesn't relate to your product, that's fine. We want to give value. We want to prove ourselves as an authority. Teach people about the industry. Teach people the benefits of your products. Things like that. That's what value is, and that's going to compound over time. Where again, once a quarter, don't do too many sale events, just once a quarter. That's when you can have your big sale event. Now you can choose to send this to your whole list, all of your customers, including past buyers, or like Alex Hormozi said, you could segment and just do non-buyers. Typically in e-com, my niche, I like to do it to the whole customer base. This keeps people engaged and keeps people to have a reason on the email list. And a lot of the past buyers are just going to buy off of the value emails that we're giving throughout the quarter anyways. But it's really up to you. You can test it. It's going to depend for each brand.
And I want to add a little caveat here, which is that it's okay to ask for the sale again. And so all these people, or the majority of these buyers, hadn't bought this thing. And so when we asked again, some people were afraid of making the second ask, but people get busy. They leave a shopping cart up and then their kid screams and they forget about it. It happens. And so you can't get too bent out of shape on the fact that you're going to offend people by asking them. It's okay to ask as long as you've earned the right and you've given until you've deposited enough goodwill that there's enough demand, there's surge there, that you can let loose the valve of money and it can come on and then you can close it again.
So that's just another way of saying we can give value to the list and we can ask for the sale, no problem. When we have that built up value, we have that goodwill, people aren't going to mind if we ask them for the sale. It's almost like when you give so much value, you have the right to ask for the sale. You've crossed that trust threshold with the customer. So send value.
If you are unafraid to email because you don't want to get unsubscribes, why do you have emails to begin with? It's kind of like saying, well, I don't want to post content because then people would stop following me. It's well, the only point of them following you is to advertise your stuff. And so if the logical extreme of this is just never do anything, then that's probably not the right conclusion.
Alex Hormozi brings up a great point. A lot of people are concerned about unsubscribes or annoying the list. But it's do you hate money? There's a reason you have an email list. People know that you're going to be sending them content. And they know you're going to be sending them sales messaging. If you're scared of unsubscribes, you're going to be scared of sending emails. And if you're scared of sending emails, you're scared of money. Unsubscribes are okay. It's going to happen. People are going to unsubscribe as they lose interest in your brand. Or if you're sending them bad content like sale, sale, sale. But that's fine. It's natural. I work on brands that make 50 mil a year, and we're losing thousands and thousands of subscribers every single month. But we're gaining tens of thousands of subscribers every single month because we're focusing on new customer acquisition and we're focusing a lot of our time on our pop-up forms and on our lead gathering and email signups. I don't know about you, but if I could gain 20,000 subscribers in a month and I'd only lose 4,000, I'd take that deal every single day. And that's how you have to look at it. Have an abundance mindset. Don't worry about the unsubscribes. Worry more on your acquisition.
Next tactical nugget, clear CTA. So I'm not going to harp on of course you want to have a reason to do it and you have a reason to do it now and tell them exactly what they get. Those are, CTA 101. But I think that having basically a continued interest CTA and then have a I want to take action and buy CTA are not terrible ideas to have in an email. And so I'm not saying like, I'm not one of these people who's like, only have one link, only have one CTA. I think you can have more than one, but it's more that you only want to have one per audience or per objective. Now, if you have 5, then that can get, kind of aggressive overall, but I think 1 or 2, you're safe as long as there's a clear reason that someone would click one versus the other.
Calls to action. So what Hormozi is saying is we want a clear call to action and we don't want too many. If you give the customer so many options and there are 5 different buttons like, hey, buy this thing, or do this, it's just way too much and the customer is going to get fatigued and they're not going to take any of those actions. So we need to make things clear and different. I like to only have like one like real main call to action and then maybe like one other. But really, as Alex Hormozi is saying, we don't want to overwhelm people. And we can have different buttons, maybe like 1 or 2, as long as they're like distinct audience differences. What I like to do for my e-com emails is specific emails about like a specific product collection. So if we could do like shop like t-shirts, create a whole email about t-shirts, all the call to actions lead to like the t-shirt page. But what we could do is we could have individual product sections leading to different individual products. That to me is the same call to action. If I'm trying to do so many things like buy this t-shirt, also follow us on social media, also you might like these pants, then that's too much. What are you doing? My cat is saying hi. Is Alex Hormozi giving us some good stuff? Yeah?
How often should you send email and to whom should you send it? Big picture, after talking to the best email marketers I knew before deciding to start my newsletter, number 1 is the perfect cadence seems to be around 3 times a week. All right, now again, I don't like rules, and if you hate rules as much as I do, then nothing is a rule. All right, you could send 2, you could send 1, whatever. But most people found that basically the more often you email, the more you will convert. It's kind of like more content, but there is a spot where people are like, I'm getting bothered. But the thing is that's where I feel like putting more effort into making the emails high quality pays dividends. Because think about it like this. If you send someone stuff that always makes them money, then how much would they like you to send them? Tons.
Beautiful. The age-old most asked question that I get is how often should you be sending emails? As Alex Hormozi said, 3 times per week seems to be the sweet spot after talking to a ton of experts. And myself, I've worked with over 100 different 7- and 8-figure e-commerce brands just on email marketing, and the sweet spot that I've found is 3 to 4 email campaigns per week. Why would I and Alex Hormozi lie to you? I've tested this, and it seems like the people he talked to are knowledgeable, and it's kind of like that 3 to 4 times per week, every other day, is that consistent cadence. And that works because if you're giving the customer valuable stuff, if you're giving them information, if you're giving them emails that they like looking at, if you're a great product, kind of like he said here with if somebody received money every time you send an email, they'd want you to send all the time. Same thing with emails. If your content and quality is so good, you can send at this frequency. And if people like it, they'll just buy. Even if they don't even open your email, it's valuable for somebody who's checking their email every single day to just see your brand name, to see your logo in the inbox. It might not result in direct sales, but you're going to stay top of mind. And next time the customer thinks about that specific product that happens to be in your niche, you're going to be the first brand that comes to mind. If you're sending once a month, you're not going to be able to stay top of mind. Customers are seeing over 200 different e-commerce brands every single day. You're going to get lost in the mix if you're not sending at enough frequency. 3 times per week is that sweet spot. Start with that, and then you can kind of test off of it. Now, this one that Alex is about to give us is a gold gem.
I'm going to give you 3 timing tactics around emails. These are all just golden BBs, things that'll just give you tiny little lifts in terms of your overall performance. And so if you're sending, let's say, 1 email a week, then you might as well maximize the likelihood and effectiveness of that email. And so if you're B2C, it seems like Mondays and Tuesdays tend to be better days overall. And so there's an average increase in open rate of about 18% for B2C, so business consumer. Now, if you're B2B, this is kind of interesting, it's Wednesday. That's actually the bigger lift day. And actually is about comparable to the B2C lift. So I see that as like, there's just a time period for more people that consumers are more distracted, call it, on Mondays and Tuesdays, whereas business people, B2B, are like working Mondays and Tuesdays. Like they get to catch their breath on Wednesday. Now, I could just be adding a narrative to this, who knows? But fundamentally, the stats are there, and this is across zillions of emails. I got that from Neil Patel. He's an awesome marketer. And so he shared that with me in terms of days.
Now, I don't have a ton of evidence to back this up, but generally, this is what I kind of see. Monday and Tuesday are typically strong days for B2C. Again, I work in e-commerce, and so we're marketing towards like the average person. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday seem to be the stronger days, whereas Thursday and Friday, people are kind of like looking towards the weekend. And weekends can be good as long as you send earlier in the morning, because people are usually doing stuff kind of like in the afternoon and in the evening. But that's really interesting. B2B, kind of like people Wednesday, Thursday, they're kind of like done with like the majority of the week and like a lot of the work that's stacked on their desk Monday, Tuesday. It seems that like later in the week they convert better. Really interesting, but definitely test this out. If you're sending less frequent, it's going to be super important to nail your send days. Now let's get to send times.
The last tactic is around what time of day. So that was days of week, but the next is time of day. And so it seems like there's two sweet spots that occur. And one is basically right before lunch and right after lunch. So it's like 10 to noon and then 1 to 3 are the kind of like these sweet spots where they open. The first thing in the morning, I think, is typically a very competitive time because there's so many actual real business emails that they're going through that they're like, well, I gotta deal with this stuff first. If you kind of slide in those times, you tend to see bigger improvements. Now, that'll be more specific for businesses that are local. When you're across time zones, I wouldn't lose too much sleep over it. For us, we do all of our stuff off PST, but I know that I've got a 3-hour window if I'm just looking at US, and if half my audience is international, which it is, that's gonna be more relevant for the people who only transact in one time zone.
I absolutely love it. These are my favorite times to send emails. We have 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. These are perfect because it's kind of after the craziness of the morning and it's not like right during lunch, but it's kind of in those like down times that just works super well. And you might think like, why not send at like 7 p.m. when you know that like people aren't going to be doing anything? The problem with that is people don't really check emails like the day after they're sent. So if I send an email at 7 p.m. and somebody goes to bed at 9 p.m., I only have 2 possible hours for the person to check their email. 'Cause once they go to bed, they don't really check emails at nearly the same frequency as same day. Whereas if I send my email at 10 a.m., the person goes to bed at 9 p.m., I have 11 full hours that this person could open the email app and see my email. So kind of like these midday ranges are typically what I find works the best. And obviously, Alex Hormozi agrees. There we go. Those are the golden nuggets that I found from Alex Hormozi's advice on email marketing. I got a ton of value there. Hope you got a ton of value too. And if you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested, I have a free 8-hour course that I just posted on email marketing so that you can learn everything that you need to scale your e-commerce brand. If you want it, you can click here. If not, see you in the next video.